Hi, I'm Arlene McIntyre, Creative Director at Ventura Design, and you're listening to Shut the Front Door, a light-hearted podcast that will bring you through the front door and into the homes of influential and interesting people. Home for me is one of the most important things in my life. My career has fortunately given me the opportunity to work closely with people and to help them create a home they will cherish forever. Today we were joined by one of Ireland's most loved sports people, three-time champion jockey, Davey Russell. Davy's racing career has seen him win some of the sport's most coveted trophies, including the Aintree Grand National and Cheltenham Gold Cup. Growing up the youngest of 6 children on a farm in Youghal, County Cork, the father of 5 now lives in his native county with his wife, former Irish pole vault champion Edelle O'Meara, and their children. Thank you very much for joining me today, Davy, on Shut the Front Door. How are you, Davy?
Very good now, Arlene, and yourself?
I'm not too bad. I've been really excited about chatting with you today.
Oh, good. Yeah. We're kind of so much involved in with the lockdown. It's nice to be able to, with all these interviews and things. It's nice to be able to talk to different people. So I'm very much looking forward to it. Great. And how has life been treating you and your family during the lockdown? Yeah, we're in a lucky situation that we have a farm and we have plenty of animals around, and the kids get plenty of entertainment. So to be honest, it hasn't changed a whole lot really for us. Only that the surrounding area is an awful lot quieter, and things are an awful lot different from there. But as our everyday is pretty much the same, we're up pretty early every day, and to be honest, my day is full from start to finish, and while able to go to bed at night good and tired. So it's That's not good. A whole lot different in that aspect, but obviously everything else outside that then has changed dramatically.
And did you continue racing at all during the lockdown?
We stopped for not sure time-wise. We're not great with time and things like that, but we stopped for roughly about 2 months. But we were lucky enough to start back because I suppose when you're used to dealing with animals and things like that, there's an awful lot of medical stuff goes along with it, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. So we were used to stringent regimes with horses because you have to meet such a high standard, and before we stopped racing, we raced behind closed doors for a couple of days. So we were kind of prepared for when we start back up. We had all the preparations were there and we'd done it. So we were able to get back into the swing of things fairly easy. It's different now. It's very different going to the races with no owners, but the day is quite busy because usually when we arrive at the races, we park our car, we go straight into the weigh room, and we only leave it to go out and ride. Whereas now, when we park our car, we have to drive on your own to the races, and you park up your car. Then you have to go through a stringent. You get your temperature taken. You have to pass a medical. You have to do a medical the day before every race meeting. You have to pass a medical, answer questions, and then when you get there, you have to scan your barcode to say that you've met all the correct guidelines, and then you go in, you get your gear, and you move that to a different area in the race course, because the race courses are quite big. So you move to a different area in the race course, then you get your allocated seat and you get changed there, and then you have to go back over and get your saddle and get your weight right. So it's kind of a busy day compared to where a normal day is. You just arrive into the weigh room and everything is there for you. Whereas now you have quite a more different approach to the day when you arrive to the races.
I know. And do you miss the buzz? I mean, do you miss the roaring and the cheering in the background?
Absolutely. I personally enjoy the really big days. I love riding on the really big days. I love going to the big meetings and where the crowd is. The beauty of racing, when you go to a race meeting, you are literally inches away from touching the horses in the parade ring, and the crowd is the stands can be quite packed and vocal, because people are cheering on there's quite a number of horses in any race, and there's any amount of different people cheering on different horses, so it can be very, very busy and loud, but we're lucky. The racing fans, or the people that go racing every day, are such good supporters of the game, but you miss that buzz. But with us, the adrenaline is still quite high. It's just you don't get that hit until you actually get on the horse, get him to the start, and the flags, the race is on. Then, whereas when the crowds are there, that rush is kind of, you're trying to control your energy until you get to the start. Whereas now you have nothing to control until you get to the start. It's a different approach to a race day.
I can't imagine, totally. I can't even imagine. There's so much I want to get into. I have loads of questions for you today, Davey. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first chat to you about your first memories of home. Can you share a few of those memories with me?
I suppose we had a fantastic childhood. We're lucky because the farm is situated inside the town, and the town has grown around us. So we're lucky in a way that we're farming inside the town, so we have the best of both worlds. The school is a walk away, the hurling pitch is a walk away. Mass was only a walk away. We rarely had to get into a car to go anywhere, and then literally a mile down the road is the most fantastic beach, and we have a local fun fair in Perks. So our summers were full and our winters were just as good as well. We never got hit overly bad with weather and things. So being next to the beach, I suppose it got a bit windy, but never too bad. None that I can remember anyway. But my earliest memories kind of all involve horses, really. Well, animals definitely, because we had a dairy farm, and the first house that I was in as a child, we lived in a housing estate, and then I can just barely remember being picked up, a neighbour picking us up and bringing us to school from that housing estate. I can remember the dog we had was a small little hairy Jack Russell called Inky, and going to school from there is a very vivid memory. But all my memories have been on the farm, and growing up on the farm, and being around animals, and all of that kind of carry on. Yeah.
And what was your home style like? Can you describe what your home looked like?
Oh, that's a good one now, because it's a big old house, a very solid house, and we never used our front door. As in, what is our front door? We always came in through the back door, and I'd say the front door in the house is never opened. So it was a working house. It was a busy house. Mum always wanted us to get outside and be outside at any given moment. But our house is a little bit like, when you came in, you didn't have a huge connection with outside. So you were either out or you were in. You know what I mean? It wasn't really flowing from one to the other. Mm-hmm. And that is something that I do like, is that when you're in a kitchen, that it should be no issue to be outside in a step or two, if you know what I mean, that there should be a connection with the outside and the inside for me. But with our house, it wasn't. When you went in, and when you went out, you were out. That was kind of the memory I have growing up of it anyway,
And have you brought those little habits home with you now today in your current family home?
Yes, a little. I'm kind of the way when I come, I'm in a way that when I come in, I want to sit down and I want to shut off. It's a bit of an effort. I'd like to get everything done, and I could stay, outside all day long, but when I come in, I actually like to stay inside. I find it very hard to get up and go back out. So it's habit. Like I'm a devil now for lying on the couch.
So you're all or nothing.
Yes. Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah.
Excellent. You work hard and you play hard.
Used to play hard. The kids have different kind of playing now these days. It's more.
Well, you work hard and you relax hard. Maybe.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
So, can you describe your teenage bedroom for me? What did that look like?
No. Yeah. Would you believe? So there was 3 boys and 3 girls, and for some reason, when my sister, my eldest sister, moved away she went traveling and working abroad. So she went to Cyprus and America and different places, working in hotels, and then she got married over in America. She's home now, which is great to have her around. And but for some reason, I never really stayed in one room in the house. Would you believe? So the boys' room, where I was when I was a kid, I slept there. But when my sister moved away, I wanted to get into her room for some reason, and I took over her room. But it was very plain. I wouldn't have had posters or anything like that. I'm a devil with clothes that when I buy a pair of jeans, I wear them until they're unwearable. And
they fall off.
Yeah, and the same with shoes. When my shoes have to start smiling at me until I change them. And then I'm quite the opposite with my gear, with my racing gear. I like to have everything very prim and proper. When I'm dealing with my gear, actually. So my outside stuff is much more looked after than my actual shoes and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm a devil. I bed clothes or anything like that was just plain. Nothing fancy. It was all horses. Whatever. Once I got up in the morning, Mum reared us brilliant. She tried to get me to make my bed and things like that. But when I left the room, I wasn't one for halfway through the day going up to my room. I was more so outside and messing in a car or a tractor or something, rather than going back upstairs and playing in my room as such.
Yes. So you were just really always outdoors. That's really your biggest memories, was just being active, busy outdoors.
Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha. And so how did it all begin? Was there a lot of like, when did your passion for horses begin?
Oh, it's more of an obsession. It was when we make our Christmas list, it's I always ask Santa for something to do with horses. From a very young age, any books I read as a kid, horses. If I was going anywhere in a car, I dreamt of jumping the hedges in the field as we were driving along in the car. So from my memory throughout all my life, it has been nothing but horses and wanting to be a jockey. I know it sounds a bit strange.
No, not at all. So it was just always in you.
Yeah.
So how did it all begin? And was there a lot of training and learning involved in becoming a jockey?
Yeah. I suppose you kind of have to be around horses to learn about horses. So the more time you spend with horses, the more knowledgeable you get about horses. So I was spending a lot of time around horses, and I had, a general feel for them growing up, and we had ponies and things like that. So we'll say it was kind of more engraved into me as I grew up as a child. And then as regards becoming a jockey, you just have to pass, go to the turf club at the time, and you were 16. You could just get your license, and that was it. There was no real test or anything like that. You could just get your license and then go and get a ride. So we had a horse here at home that was, I used to ride out before I go to school, and after I come back from school, I done that. And different summers, then I'd get summer jobs, going to different stables and going along that route and just riding out for the summer. But at the very start, it was very slow. There was no immediate bang like the young lads get nowadays. Is completely changed, that if you're able to ride and you have a license, then you pretty much just get rides after rides after rides, and they ride winners quite early. But back then you had to do your more or less your apprenticeship, really. Like, you had to get up in the morning, you had to muck out stables, you had to brush over horses, you had to ride them, school them, and then not necessarily would you ride them at the weekend in races, and that was just it. You just had to get your apprenticeship, and you learnt about welfare of horses and different things. Then you may up yourself. If you earned a few quid, you bought a horse yourself. Or me, lucky enough, Dad had a few horses at home, and I cut my teeth on them, and I just got my first winner by chance. There was a spare ride going, and there was no one there to ride it, and I rode it, and it won. And the wheel just started turning after that, and there wasn't a whole lot of thought put into it or anything like that. It just winners after winners after winners kept coming. And then the opportunities kept coming. Yeah. And there was no real set rules, You just went along, but there were great days. We had so much fun, and we enjoyed life, and we didn't get caught up too much. You see, I grew up, I started off in a different time. It's different for kids now because there was no media or social media or any of that carry on. And there was, if a fella had a fiver on a horse, I started riding point to points. If he had a fiver on a horse, he had to be there to watch it. So it was only word of mouth. We're getting around that, Davey Russell gave this a good ride, or some other guy gave this a good ride, and he looks to be a talent for the future, So it was all word of mouth back then, whereas now you can take a video and it's all there in front of you,
I know, it's so different. I believe that. And can you describe for me that feeling that must run through your veins when you're waiting for a race to start? Or can you even describe to me what goes on in your head? Is there a breakdown of thoughts that come through your mind before the gates open?
Yeah, it kind of starts now. It's a constant flow of things. So I need to know pretty much every horse that's running. I must have some knowledge of it, and let it be my own, and let it be right or wrong. But every day there's racing on, I have to be plugged into it, because they're either going to be my opposition at some stage, or I may be taking part on them at some stage, or so the preparation is ongoing all the time for me, and it's enjoyable. I like it. It's not everybody's way of doing things, but for me, it's, again, I'm probably getting back to my child, it's all or nothing. It's either in or out. And so the preparation, then declarations, I know what I'm riding. Well, now I know 48 hours before, but in the normal circumstances, it's 24 hours before. So I'd flick down through. First of all, my first thought is the weight it's carrying. So I need to prepare for that. And then the opposition, the distance of the race, the type of ground, all of this. So I run all them things through my head. And then I run down through the opposition about where the pace may come from. Am I the pace? How will I settle my horse? How will I get him in the right position in the race? What is the right position in the race for him? And then you go through all these things, and then you go to the races and you must control all of these things, because at the end of the day, all of that kind of goes out the window if something very small changes. So you have to be very open-minded for your preparation. But at least I know, once I've gone through it, I know, or I have an idea of what things are going to do. And if they don't do it, I don't want it to be a surprise to me, so that I'm stunned that this is not happening the way I prepared for it to happen. So you just can't really nail yourself to any given thing, especially with horses, because so many things can go wrong. Like if a horse pulls a shoe on the way to the start, he may be withdrawn. He might, I don't know, pull a muscle. I don't know for any, and he may not run. That's the whole race turned upside down, and I'm set on doing one thing. Then that can change completely. But so you have to be very open-minded to the way you're doing, and then really at the end of the day, you just do what's best for your horse. And a lot of the time I ride some very good horses, so you try and keep it as simple as possible, and you try and get in the front rank and get him settled and jumping, and after that then everything you like everything to fall into place after that. But if you're riding the best horse in the race, you try and keep it as simple as possible. But I don't want to not have done my homework if that doesn't happen, if you know what I mean. So I like to prepare. I like to know what's going on. And then at the same time, don't complicate things. You know what I mean? So I'm after complicating things already, but at the same time, I just like to ride nice and simple. Then after that, just jump out the gate, throw the reins down their neck, and get him jumping, get in him a rhythm, and try and win if all possible. Yeah.
But you must be very brave, like to be able just to get into that zone and not worry about anything else that's happening left or right of you, and just focus on your game, where you're going with the horse. That takes a lot of focus and concentration, I would imagine.
Yeah, and it's one thing I never had. I was very unfocused as a child, as in my academically. I find it very hard to sit down and read and write and do stuff academically, but it's all getting back to loving what you're doing. And I love riding horses, and it doesn't feel in any way, shape or form that it's that I need to focus on it. It just comes. I love doing it. I love literally watching videos of horses and watching different characteristics of horses and different things. And I don't know, I just love it. It doesn't feel like a chore in any way, shape or form. There's no work involved in it. I can bounce out of the bed in the morning and I'm tired enough to sleep at night. It's very enjoyable now for me.
Yes.
Adrenaline is a powerful drug, or not a drug, or whatever you want to call it. It's a powerful thing, and adrenaline rules an awful lot of what we do. And
definitely,
sometimes it can override you, and you can get very. I sometimes can get very aggressive or angry. Now, anger is an emotion, and I can. If I do something wrong, I can get over it quite quick. And I think adrenaline has a lot to do with that. Some guys can control it an awful lot better.
And of course, it kind of builds up to stress. It's the stress. You have to let off some steam, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I'm a devil. I let it off. I don't ever mean it in any way, shape, or form. I don't, but. Sometimes I can upset people, but it's just the way I am. It's just, unfortunately, that's just the way I am, and that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, I see it in all kind of walks of life, and I know that it is particularly that way in your career, but in a lot of career choices, I've spoken to lots of different people, and they all pretty much say that the adrenaline helps get them through. It's that you just need to have the gun to your head nearly to get it done, and some people perform 100 times better under pressure when they have that adrenaline rush.
Yeah, I love competing under pressure. I enjoy the pressure side of it. That's not an issue for me, but I'm quite able to switch off then when I want to.
That's good. And do you ever get nervous before a race?
Yeah, nervous. Yeah, I would. Or whether it's nervous or what, I don't know. But yeah, but I'm happy that I have pretty much everything covered. Like, you know, I love when a horse is really fancied and a gamble has gone on him, or someone has a really high pressure. That's what I love. Yeah, that's when I really, really, really enjoy it. If I
And
get,
do you think,
you can feel it under my skin, like, but I don't. It's not in a bad way. It never has a bad feeling. It's always good, a good nervousness, if that's right.
yes, of course. Oh, completely. It's a really positive emotion, and if you can channel it in the right way, it's the most successful ingredient really to win.
Yeah,
And I've always wondered about the horses, though. Do you think they pick up on your energy?
definitely, most certainly, yeah. And
Hmm.
it's a thing that people don't realize. It's another job for a jockey. And more importantly, the lad that looks after the horse is a huge part of it as well.
Hmm.
So we'll just take, for instance, Envoy Allen. He's on everybody's mind at the moment. He's a very, very good horse. He won at the festival this year. He won at the festival last year. He's unbeaten throughout his career. And the lass that goes racing with him knows him so well. She knows his quirks. She knows everything about him. Keith Donoghue rides him at home, and he knows him. He's quite highly strung, as in you could flick a switch on him now and he'd go the wrong way. But they know how to, like, they know how to control him. He's happiest with them, and then I can do the rest. Then once she leaves me go, it's my job then to control them in a racing environment and do the rest. But their role is so important. Like when you see the lasses and the lads leading them around the parade ring, their role is vital to the horse's chance in a race, because they know the horse from at home, or they're just good horse people, generally. And they can, you get the wrong person at a horse's head, can upset the whole thing and make my job harder. Whereas, or vice versa, they can make my job so easy, and they do. A lot of the time, most of the time, if anything, all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, I would say who you surround the horse with, in the moments before the horse is, the race, it's really important, because I have heard that you know, they're very sensitive to that energy around them. And, it kind of, you need to treat them with loads of, sensitivity.
Yeah, but you see, it's a thin line again. Like, it's a thin line, and you must remember that they're 500 or 600 kgs of pure wildness if they want. So and it's controlling all that. It's just in a controlled environment, and horses love
Yeah.
they love company, if you know what I mean. They love an attachment to someone. So, and when people click with a horse, that's the real key.
Have you, and over the years in your career, kind of met different personalities in horses?
Oh yeah, every horse has his own. They're all individuals in every way, shape and form. Yeah, you can get nasty ones, you can get the kindest ones, you can get nervous ones, you can get horses that switch on the big day, and you couldn't get them to move out of their own way at home. You take them to the races, they completely switch on. You can get horses that show all the talent in the world at home. When they get to the races, they crumple under the environment. There's just, you could be here for a week explaining every different horse, different ways.
Wow.
The way they take, even horses, the way they take traveling to the races. Some horses love getting into the box to go racing. Other horses could often need a companion with them going racing, or a companion. Like, there's often horses and goats are great companions for horses.
Really?
And
How cute.
Henry, yeah, Yeah, and if they're nervous in the stable, at home or at the races, some guys put a goat into the stable with them, and they just become friendly with the goat, and that's it. The goat goes everywhere with them. So
That is
there's a
so
number of
cute, their little
horses.
buddy.
Yeah, there was one
Yeah.
horse in particular. They had to get a passport for the goat to take him to England for when he went to the Cheltenham Festival. Yeah.
That is adorable. Oh gosh, and I'd imagine you've had a lot of injuries over the years, Davey. Have you?
Yeah, injuries, plenty of injuries. But none more serious, none too serious than what 2 months or 8 weeks or can't cure. You know what I mean?
I
So
know.
lucky enough that way. But there was one in particular I thought was going to put a halt to my riding career, but got into the ambulance driving down the road. I was in wicked pain, severe pain, and we were driving down the road. We came into the city in Cork. It happened in Mallow, and the driver didn't have the siren on, and I let it shout at him. I said, "Is there any chance you turn on the lights and hurry up? Get to the hospital?" And he says, "Sure, it's not dark outside. What do we need the lights for?" I said, "Not the headlights." I says, "The woo woos." I was in
The
fierce
siren.
pain, so yeah,
Oh,
I got into to the to the hospital, and I was just looking at the ceiling, thinking, "This is not. I can't fix this." My hand was an inch below my elbow, where
oh
it was
my
supposed
Lord.
to be connected, and so I went in and I got to see the doctor, and he says, "Yeah," and I went in. The surgeon saw it. And he says, "Yeah." He says, "That's not too bad." He says, "We'll have that fixed now." He says, "And you'll be back right as rain in a couple of weeks." And just like that,
Unbelievable.
the whole thing changed. Like, we're so lucky, especially in Cork and everywhere, Dublin and Cork and Limerick,
Yes.
all them big hospitals. We're blessed with the best of surgeons, and they're homegrown surgeons that were educated and grew up in Ireland, and it's
Mhm.
just brilliant. Yeah, we're just so lucky.
You are so lucky, my gosh. And it's such a physically enduring career path. And then you've got the travel element on top of it. I mean, how often would you be away from home, like in any given year?
Yeah, I've raced in America. I've raced in England quite a bit, France, on and off. But as you well know, nowadays, you can come and go. Well, pre
Hmm.
pre COVID, you could come and go, and it would never be more than a couple of days. I'm lucky. I love to get back to the kids. I think it's very important that I spend as much
Yeah.
time of these years with them, and I don't want to be missing. And I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but the last couple of months have been very good to me because I have spent so much time with the kids. And
Yeah.
but we'll say normal situation, it's gone. You're up early in the morning, you're gone, but I'm home. And as I said, when I'm not when I'm off, I'm off, and when I'm on, I'm on. So,
Mm.
but I do
And
love
if
spending time with them.
and if you weren't a jockey, what do you think? What other career path do you think you would have gone?
I'd imagine it would have had something to do with animals, as in farming to some degree, poorly. I'm not very academically good. All I know are horses. But the one thing I used to enjoy when I was younger, I used to love plays and school plays and things like that.
Mm.
So I would love to have gone down that route. If racing, but it was always racing. There was actually nothing ever on in my mind, only racing. But when I
My
think
God,
back, I used to love them school plays and activities and things like that. So yeah.
creative. So you're creative.
No,
And
I couldn't draw a straight line with a ruler now. So um, I wouldn't say creative. I actually don't have a great mind for looking at lines. When someone can walk
Mhm.
into a room and say that goes there, that goes there, that goes there. I can't see that.
But you enjoyed the school plays.
Yes, yeah.
So you obviously had a little bit of creativity in there, for the whole.
Yeah, it must be in there somewhere. My brother was quite good at art. And he works for TG Carr in designing stuff. And I have another brother is a landscape. He does landscape.
Okay.
Yeah, my another sister was done engineering, and so it's probably there's a gene of it there somewhere. All right.
And what's the most memorable race you've ever had?
Oh, well, I'll never forget my first winner. And I will never forget the Grand Nationals, the festival winners. My first winner at the festival. There's any amount of them. Or there's certain races when, like, there was one day's racing when I went to the race with 4 rides. I thought my first ride was my best ride, and that got beaten, and the next 3 won, but they were all trained by the same person, and they had accumulated the 3 horses in one bet, so they had quite a lucrative day, and there was a lot of pressure on the last horse for the bet to come up, for the coup to come off, and it all went. But the lad said, I used to smoke. I don't smoke anymore. I used to smoke. They said that I smoked about 15 fags in 2 hours, and I didn't notice myself doing it, but they said I kept going out smoking cigarettes. But that is one day that was very that was a very pleasing day, because you always like to, the bookies are brilliant and they're a huge part of racing, but everybody likes to get one over the bookies, and that was
of course.
that was one day that this particular man got one over the bookies. Yeah.
Excellent. And you've been so lucky to have the support of your family, and especially the lovely Adele through all the years. Where did you first meet Adele?
Yeah, would you believe our anniversary is coming up to the first day we met on Monday at 2:00 in the morning, maybe 3:00. It could have been 4:00. I'm not sure. Walking down the street in Galway, I was coming out of a pub, and this beautiful beacon of light was walking down the street, and that was it. Then I was sober, she was sober, and we went on from there. We were looking for, I was with a bunch of guys, and we were looking for somewhere else to go, and I met her in Galway. She's a Galway woman, so, and never looked back since. Yeah, it's brilliant.
And where do you see the future of horse racing going with the whole COVID-19? Do you think things will ever get back to normal soon?
It's a very resilient industry. So, and it's a very passionate. It's driven by a lot of passion. So, horses need an awful lot of care and attention. So, we're lucky in this country. It's kind of instilled in our DNA with horses, and that maybe with the likes of me liking the school plays, an awful lot of people in this country have that little bit of an affinity with horses and horse racing. Yeah. And I think that has stood the test of time so far. I would be very confident that it will stand the test of time. It's a lucrative industry. It's good for the rural Ireland as well, which is so important. So for a lot of different reasons, I think racing, and I wouldn't take it for granted, because you have to work really hard at these things. But I think racing should and hopefully will continue in the on an upward curve. As regards getting back to normal, I think everybody has accepted that that when normal comes, it comes. So we're not looking, if we can continue and keep the wheel just slowly turning in the right direction, I think we're happy to wait for normal, if you know what I mean. Yes. So there's no one putting I know I don't. I'm not speaking about general. I know we all want kids to go back to school and all that. I'm just speaking about racing itself. That when the wheel clicks into that gear, then normal will return. But I'm not sure anybody is. There's so many different ways to enjoy racing now that when it will come out, there's nothing better than going to the races and seeing it and being involved in it. So you can never replace that. But in between, there are different ways of replicating a day's racing.
Yeah.
And until the cog clicks into gear for when the people can resume racing, then, but we're not looking for that. We're not searching for that day just yet, So that's a good thing.
Yes.
I think that that the wheel can keep slowly turning, and hopefully people don't get annoyed by it. That it may even encourage people to go racing when it comes back. But if we can keep the wheel just nice and slowly taking over, and hopefully that we have a brilliant fan or a following, so that when it does resume, that all them people will still have the same enthusiasm for the sport than they had before.
Oh, they will. They absolutely will. So after a really long typical day or week of racing, and then you come home, where is your favorite place to relax at home?
I can see the beach from the house I'm in, but I've a beautiful farm. I've a stunning farm, and there's some outstanding views on it. And I actually just love with the kids or with Adele or someone like that. It's either on the beach here in Youghal, or it's on the farm with the kids riding the pony, which we'll say after having a brilliant week's racing and nobody's looking for me and there's no racing for a couple of days, that I don't have to watch my weight and I'm not in bad form or grumpy. I just love spending time tipping along nice and slow. But that doesn't often happen. It doesn't often happen. So kind of when we're doing jobs, we kind of there's a time limit in the day that horses have to be fed, horses have to be exercised, horses have to be groomed, and because you're always in that rush. But I do love just the day that you can just sit in the car and not run out and tip along and not be shouting at the lads, come on, quick lads, we're in a rush, we're riding the pony, we're shooting, when we're just lobbing along there now, nice and steady. That's the day I really like.
I was watching Adele's Instagram page one day. It was over the lockdown, I think it was, and you cracked me up because you were playing around in the garden and you had sort of set your garden up with a Grand National course at home. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. It
was great.
Yeah, Finn and Lily. Liam is coming now. He's getting into it, and obviously Tess is too young. Jamie has a good affinity with the Grand National as well. So it is the first race, kind of that a child has a big memory of. Is the Grand National because of his uniqueness, and when I was a child, I replicated the Grand National in the garden at home, and Finn is just, everything is just jumping, running and jumping fences, and it doesn't have to be on a pony, it just, his legs are his pony. And Lily is the same, she's just loves running and jumping, and that was only just, I didn't have the grass cut or anything. We actually have a lovely garden here, and they got bits of brushes and bits of twigs and things and jumped them and fell over and fell at the last and back up again. It's
was
nice.
So funny to watch.
Yeah, and it broadens your imagination too. Finn and Finn can remember names of horses and things like that better than I can. So
really,
it's great. Yeah, he's very good. He's great. He could come out with anything. He comes up, he could watch a race. He went up. We thought that last year was Tiger Roll's last year of racing. So I thought it was very important that Finn and Lily got to go to the races to see him. So, and Jamie came, and we went to Navan, and there was horses running there the same day, and I was so proud of him when the lads told me I was riding in the same race as Tiger Rowe was running in, and I had to explain to Finn that I wasn't riding him because Keith Donoghue rides him when I don't. We swapped the ride on him as such.
Okay.
And I rode for the same owners, the same trainer in that race, and I ended up winning the race. The guys were up in the stand watching the race, and they could hear this clicking like up in the stands, and they looked behind them and there was nobody there. They couldn't see anybody clicking, and next thing they heard, "Come on, Daddy, come on, Daddy, come on, Daddy." And they looked down, and there was Finn watching the race, clicking me on to win the race. And coming home in the car,
cute.
he knew the names of all. He never heard of them names before, and about kind of 6 or 8 weeks later, ages after, he came out with the name of the horse that I won on, Cracking Smart. And it's just good. It's nice to see that he has that interest anyway.
Absolutely. He must be so proud of you. I'd say all of your kids are so proud of their dad.
Oh, I'm proud of them, just to see the way they're growing up, and how quick, like Lily goes to the Gael School, and she never spoke a word of Irish in her life, and how quick and how good the teachers are, and the way people can mold, and how important it is to mold our children into the future. The way that they're going to carry on in the future is so important from a very young age, and it's great to be around to see it.
That's so true.
Yeah.
And so what would be your morning ritual? So when Davy wakes up in the morning, like what time would that be, and then what happens?
All depends on of course which direction I'm going. But say if I'm riding out in Gardens and we're racing afterwards, so Gardens is probably a good, a 2.5 hour journey. So it's kind of, I have to be gone out the door at 5 to be in the yard for 7:30, and then you just tip on up the road and give yourself 5 minutes to pull in and get a cup of tea on the way, and then you arrive in, and I put on my boots, my back protector, my helmet, my rain gear usually would be in the winter, and head into the tack room, check what horses you're riding in first lot, go tack them up, get up them, and then we everybody goes to the one area, to a collection point for all the horses. So there could be 30 or 40 horses in the one lot in the morning. So you go there and all the horses collect together, and then you head down to the gallop. Excuse me. And so you do that then throughout the morning. My weight is a bit of an issue, so I have to keep an eye on that. I might then have to go for a sweat or a sauna or something, and off I go, have that, then go to the races. On a normal day, the valads are very good. They have everything lined up for us when we arrive in. My helmet, my stick, my back protector, my goggles, everything is all there. And you, at some stage, probably the night before, I'd be after going down through the form and different things, the distances of races and things like that. And you head off then and you go through your day's racing, and jump into the car then and either, head on home. Edelle is such a brilliant part of my life now that when I arrive home, then she'll have dinner ready, whether it be, depending on the next day's activities, whether what I can eat, we'd be after chatting in between, and probably in the car then I chat away to my agent and different people that I need to talk to about the day's racing or the future day, the upcoming racing. And I get home then, and I might, if something went right or something went wrong during the day, I'd give it's all on the phone now that I can replay all these races and things, and I give it one look over, and then you just sit down. Maybe I might call, depending what's going on at the time, you could call in home into the farm and give one run over a horse, maybe if you had to check something or do something like that. But the lads are great, they'd have all that done anyway, so
Yes.
and then you'd sit down, eat my dinner, chat with the lads, find out how their day was, and go sit down and watch a bit of TV, watch a couple of replays of races. It drives Adele mad that when I come home and I go watching replays of races, but it's just all I know. So and then that's kind of it then. Yeah. And not great to go to bed early. I have to convince myself that I'm going to bed, So.
You're a night owl.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's your quiet time. So that's probably what, keeps you awake. It's that lovely kind of
that's
relaxing silence, and it's so foreign to you that you just want to, suck all that silence and calm in while you can't take it.
Yeah.
And does social media play a big part in your life? I know you're a Twitter fan.
Yes, I am. I enjoy Twitter. I have a simple way of dealing with anybody that will say, I'm not, I don't like huge negativity. Obviously, sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad. Most time it's bad. So if someone wants to have an argument with me about bad ride I gave or questioning my integrity on social media, simplest thing is just to block them. I don't need to listen to that.
No.
I'm not on social media to for someone to throw stones at. So they can do that in front of their own friends or whatever like that.
Exactly.
The beauty of social media, and I really enjoy it because I just don't get involved in them things. We do a lot for charity, for cancer research, and Twitter is so positive for that, and the feedback we get from it is brilliant. And I sometimes put up pictures and videos of, we'll say, let it be a horse galloping across a field or jumping or something funny. I like watching funny videos. I like talking a little bit of sense. It's good to get information about, we'll say, ground conditions. Maybe if there was a race meeting in jeopardy of being called off, it's good to follow it on Twitter because they're great. People can just type it into their phone, an inspection at 7 o'clock in the morning. I find it brilliant that way. Maybe if I had gotten a fall and I wasn't taking part in racing tomorrow, I could say, a lot of people, people do follow it and worry about when people get falls. And I'd say, on the way to hospital, x-rays are good, looks like I'll be riding tomorrow. Simple things like that. And then, the best thing about it is to promoting the likes of charity events and funny things, videos, doing stupid things that we used to do with our friends when we were kids. Now we just do it and show other people on Twitter, which is, love it or hate it. I don't get too involved. I definitely don't get involved with people throwing stones anyway. And
you're right.
Like that.
I mean, that's just hard to believe that would happen to you. But you just have to block them out. Just block them out.
It happens to everybody in every walk of life, and there's only one way to deal with it. And I'm not ignoring it, but it just doesn't affect me because I don't, out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, they're just negative. You don't need that negativity in your life.
No. And one thing about riding horses is you have to be unbelievably positive.
Yeah.
Because when the negativity comes in, it's the same as driving a car, riding a motorbike, cycling a bike. You must be positive in the decisions you make. And they must all be made in a split-second decisions. So if you're not positive, then negativity can alter a situation very fast, a lot faster. I think positive, making up your mind and being positive of what you're doing is definitely a way better approach to things. So,
absolutely, and just this leads me to my next question, Davy. Are you a spiritual person? Would you say a few quick Hail Marys before the gates open?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not. I have I have a belief in it. I have no problem going to mass and having that, someone, a greater person to talk to. I've an awful thing about numbers, would you believe? My daughter Lily was born at 11 minutes past 11. 1111.
Wow, that's a very powerful number.
Yeah, and I have an awful habit of looking at my phone when it's 11 minutes past 11.
The exact same thing happens to me. I tell you no lie. For
And
whatever reason, I pick up the phone almost every morning of every day of the week, and it's 11:11.
I don't know what it is. And I can tell you the exact time my mum passed away.
Wow.
It was 44 minutes past 4.
My gosh, that is uncanny.
And there's just whatever it is about numbers, I don't know,
Yes.
but 22 minutes past 2, there's just
My gosh.
whatever it is, I don't know. It's the only thing that bothers me a little bit. Not bothers me, but it intrigues me.
Yes.
But I have an awful habit at 11 minutes past 11.
Gosh, I know. That's great. That's all positive. So you're definitely.
That's the first time I've ever said it in public. So people probably think I'm stone mad now. But anyway.
No, not at all. Are you kidding? Yeah. There's books, volumes of books written about that very subject. It's really fascinating, to be honest.
I've never looked into it.
No.
I'm not great. I wouldn't even read a book about that. I just continue the way I'm going. I'm happy with my own.
Yeah. No, it's a big thing, actually. It's really interesting.
Right.
But then from that, so that kind of sounds like you're more of a spiritual person rather than a religious person. You would think positively, you would have a very positive outlook, and you would visualize, winning the game,
yes,
and jumping the fences, and you would be just a positive person by nature.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd rather, I take into account the things that can go wrong, and I'm aware of them, but I'd rather be aiming towards winning it than losing it.
Yeah. And do you have any, I'm sure you do have a whole array of trophies, but do you have them stored somewhere in your home? Do you have a special place for all your trophies?
I'm not, it's nice to look back on them, and there are ones that are very, very important to me, but admiring them, not so much. I get there's not so much of a, I don't know what way it is. I love being in the moment and enjoying them moments rather than looking back on what trophies don't mean a whole load, as in they mean an awful lot. They're huge parts of our industry and our game, but to say that that I would polish them every evening,
no. Yeah, good answer. But they are something you should be very proud of, and I'm sure they'll be very, special for your children to remember you by someday. They're just lovely to have.
Well, I may have a different view on that when I retire. I may bore someone someday by telling them about.
When you're 150 years old, Davy, in your rocking chair, sitting beside Adele in her rocking chair, you'll be looking back and thinking, do you remember that trophy?
Bored to tears.
What is Christmas like in the Russell household?
I love Christmas. Now, the only thing about Christmas is we're very, very busy. So holidays, when everybody else is on holidays, is our busiest time. So to get to enjoy, I've never not raced on St. Stephen's Day. Wow. So it's a different way. We approach Christmas differently, but I love the kids and the excitement and all of that, definitely. But I don't get to enjoy the party side of it. We jockeys we could go out of a Monday when everybody else is going to work and doing their normal thing. We could be off, and we might, enjoy a Monday better than we could enjoy a Saturday night, if you know what I mean, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. So can you have a big kind of Christmas feed on Christmas Day, or does that have to hold off until after Stephen's Day?
I would say I could count the amount of Christmas dinners that I've ate in the last 20 odd years.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
It doesn't bother
gosh.
me. It doesn't bother me. I like the other side of it. When I go to Leopardstown or Limerick at Christmas time and I have success, then that's
Yeah.
where my Christmas dinner is, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've met a lot of different characters along the way in your career. Is there anyone that's really stood out, in your mind?
Well, there's loads of attributes that you can take from different people that can help you. And I've met the best of people, like from the talented to the one-liners, the aspects. I love dealing with people that can influence your life in a better way. And I like I like meeting people. I have, as you probably know through this, I have an awful habit sometimes of talking too much. So that is a thing that I would have loved to not have done, but that's just where I am. And
gosh, I wouldn't have thought that was a negative.
Maybe I annoy people. Sometimes I feel I annoy people by talking too much, and but at the same time, I love meeting people and talking to people and asking questions.
Yeah, you're really interesting, though. You've had an incredible career. You're going to have loads of stories for your kids in the future.
Oh, yeah. And I'm probably not, I can't remember most of them, would you believe? My memory is poor, but I enjoyed every day, every day. I still love it so much. So I just keep enjoying it. Yeah.
Do you have any regrets looking back over the years at all?
Personally, if anybody doesn't have regrets, then they haven't lived. And I've loads of regrets. But I don't know what I'm going to regret doing at 8:00 this evening, but I'm not going to worry about it. So I'm not going to worry about the mistakes I made before, and they don't really register with me as such. I've made umpteen mistakes in every way, shape and form of every walk of life, but they are what they are. And when you make them, you either make up for them or you forget about them or you do something. But look, if a person hasn't got regrets at some stage, but I don't dwell on them, and there's no need to dwell on them because tomorrow is a brand new day, and you just have to move on and roll with the punches. And whether they're good regrets or bad regrets, or I'm sure I made them decisions at the time thinking it was the right thing to do, and I done them, and maybe they weren't and maybe they were, but we're still here and we're still ticking along nicely. And I don't really look back on situations as regrets as such, but I'm sure I have made wrong decisions or poor decisions, but sure, look, don't be all. And
yeah,
I wouldn't really judge
true.
too many people.
Yeah, so very, very true. And who would you rate as being like the greatest Irish sportsman of all time that you've ever met?
Well, I have had a huge graw for Jimmy Barry Murphy since I was a chap. He was a brilliant person, but for me, what Gordon Elliott has achieved in his career is huge. He was a very good rider. He was a talented horseman. He's a fantastic trainer. And then I suppose one man really that probably didn't get the recognition he deserved was Joseph O'Brien. I think we'll look back in years to come and people might not realise how good he was as a rider, as a jockey. But now as a trainer, he's just an exceptional person in everything he does. But I think between Gordon Elliott and Joseph O'Brien, what they have achieved from in a very short space of time is pretty much spectacular to me. And again, as I keep saying, no, I love Jimmy Barry Murphy because he played for Cork and he managed Cork to win All Irelands, and them situations stick in my mind. But in my own industry, I concentrate on more, and them two men are two men that I look up to incredibly. Rachel Blackmore in the last couple of years has really broken through from very small acorn into a huge tree, if you could put it like that. In what she's done, but for me, Joseph O'Brien really is a spectacular person. Yeah.
There isn't a lot of female jockeys. Do you ever wonder why that is?
I never wonder, but we'll say when I was young and I got lessons, and every yard you go into, every walk of life regarding horses, women play an enormous role in horse racing. We've been very, very lucky in the last couple of years that we've had the likes of Nina and Katie Walsh, and Kate Harrington rode plenty winners, and there's there's a couple of girls in England are riding plenty winners, Bryony Frost and Lizzie Kelly, and now Rachel. So maybe they weren't as high profile. But when I was riding point of it, like Liz Doyle was a very capable rider. There was times are different. The ladies are being highlighted more recently because of social media, and all them things have taken a bigger part in our industry. So they have always been there. They have always played a huge part in our industry, but probably none have played as big a part as Rachel has shone through lately, But without a doubt, all the way through my career, I've come across some very, very capable lady riders, and Maxine O'Sullivan again rode a festival winner this year, and so it's not a huge shock. But it just possibly wasn't highlighted as much.
Yeah. So where do you see yourself in the next 5 or 10 years?
In Youghal, anyway, hopefully, and either having a successful business, producing horses, race horses, breeding horses, something along that line, just continuing with what I'm doing, and watching the kids grow up.
So, Davy, what's on your bucket list?
I'm not a big bucket list person. I'm not. I just like to tip along. I'd like to just my kids now and Adele, and continue on going. I'm quite content, and nothing huge anyway. There's nothing too exciting. No.
Yeah. And what advice would you give to your younger self?
Sort out your weight anyway first. And I wish I enjoyed the earlier years better. As in, I was always thinking that this could be my last day. This could be it. If I don't get it right, I probably should have enjoyed them a little bit better. Yeah.
I'm just going to ask you a quick fire round of questions before we finish off the segment. Are you ready?
Yep, go for it.
Tea or coffee?
Oh, tea.
Cheltenham or Grand National?
Oh, it's so hard to win a Grand National. Cheltenham.
Bath or shower?
Bath. I do an awful lot of my sweating in the bath.
Text or talk?
Text or
talk?
Oh, talk.
Winter or summer?
I like winter, yeah.
UK or Irish courses?
Oh, Irish.
Red or white wine?
Pioneer.
Flat or jumps?
Jumps.
Vacation or staycation?
I'm not a big holiday person. I like Ireland. I say staycation.
Twitter or Instagram?
Twitter.
Training or racing?
Pardon?
Training or racing?
Oh, racing.
And my final question is 2020 or 2021?
I had a good 2020, so I'm happy and looking forward to 21.
Great. You're going to stick with 2020. Good answer.
Yeah.
Well, Davey, thank you so much for chatting with me today. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you. And I wish you, Adele, and all your kids all the best.
Yeah, thank you, Arlene. Yeah, it's great.
And best of luck this weekend, or rather at the bank holiday weekend in Galway.
Yeah, we look forward to heading up to Galway now for a few days. Adele is from Portumna, so we'll stay in Portumna for a few days. Kids will have a ball.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah.